Hi, John Spark here from Your Travel Planners, and I just wanted to say thanks for dropping by. In the next 11 minutes in this presentation, Anthony Collins is going to share with you some personal insights that he believes will help you make a better informed decision about your next travel to China. And if this is your first time to China, you're going to want to pay attention. For instance, you're going to learn why or what to do about the Chinese cold, dry winters and their wet, hot summers. There's 3 temperature zones in China which, if you don't understand them, could really impact your travel. But I'm not going to take any more off Anthony. He will share that and other insights of what he's learned while escorting groups to China. On top of that, Anthony's going to actually pull to pieces, well, not really pull to pieces, he's going to actually go through a day-by-day, 10-day itinerary of China. For instance, if you've only got 10 days to go to China, you'll learn how to optimize your maximum benefits that you can gain from a travel experience while in China. So what I'm going to do is turn you over to Anthony in a second, and then when Anthony's finished, at the end of this presentation, I will share with you what you can do to get some customized help, because we recognize that while you want to go to China, you may want to go for longer than 10 days. And I want to warn you though, right up front, if you're a type of person who insists on doing your own travel to China and taking care of everything yourself, then this presentation, while it will be useful for you, will not be as much benefit as if you're a person who wants to come and enjoy the benefits of having somebody show you around China with the security and knowledge of knowing that you'll be optimizing all of your experiences plus your time. And most importantly, your budget. So this is John Sparks saying, please enjoy what Anthony has to share with you, and I'll see you in 11 minutes.
Today, we are going to take a look at one of Your Travel Planner's featured itineraries, the 10-day Peregrine Adventures China Highlights Tour. But before we take a look at some of the incredible sights on offer and what your day-to-day experience will look like, let's first cover off on some of the practical information that you need to know to get you started when planning your trip of a lifetime. With nearly 4,000 years of continuous history, China is one of the world's oldest civilizations. A country that is vast and as rich and diverse in culture as it is steeped in history and complexity. One of the first questions that you are likely to ask when researching your trip to China is, when is the best time to go? China has a variety of temperature and rainfall zones, including continental monsoon areas. In winter, most areas become cold and dry. In summer, hot and rainy. But with the 10-day tour of China taking in the must-see highlights, crossing into nearly 3 different distinct temperature zones, the question begs, when is the best time to visit? I would start by saying the weather patterns can and do vary across the regions, and therefore there is no one month where the weather will be perfect across every location. For example, springtime in Shanghai can see a city blooming with flowers and life, a mild maximum temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and comfortable minimum average temperatures of around 13 degrees. The same time in Beijing, however, although generally mild in terms of temperature, can see strong winds with terrible sand and dust storms. I would also say that there are sometimes less obvious pros and cons to travelling at different times of the year. Winter, although freezing cold, often sees many of the hotels offer substantial discounts. With far fewer tourists, this may be an attractive option. And for some, just to experience the winter provides an experience so alien from what they're used to back home that this can be a highlight in and of itself. Similarly, summer is considered peak season and is the most popular time for tourists, but it is worth noting that this is also the hottest time of the year, with the highest rainfall and the time when hordes of tourists descend on locations such as the Great Wall. As a general rule of thumb, if you are aiming for milder weather, then my first recommendation would be to travel in the spring, in either April or May, or alternatively in the autumn months, around September and October. However, we thoroughly understand that your decision on when to travel will likely also be influenced by your own set of circumstances, such as leave arrangements, school holidays, and family commitments. Regardless of the time of the year you choose to travel to China, rest assured that your travel planner will provide you with detailed information, both in assisting you to select the time of the year which is best for you, but furthermore in ensuring that we make recommendations on which companies we know will enable you to get the most out of your experience based on your individual, personalized needs. The second most frequently asked question is, how much time do I need to see the best of what China has to offer? This question is always a tricky one and really does depend on your priorities and how much vacation time you can take. As a rule of thumb, of course, the more the better. Seriously though, we do understand that everyone has different time constraints. As an overview, we would recommend 10 days as a minimum to take in the main highlights of Eastern China, which includes the Great Wall, the Terracotta Warriors, Beijing and Shanghai. If you are interested in an itinerary that also includes more remote areas in China and/or you wish to see the panda bears in the wild, then we would recommend a minimum of 2 to 2.5 weeks. The last most frequently asked question I've received over the years is whether I would recommend doing a tour or traveling independently. In addition to gaining first-hand experience leading tour groups of varying size and ages, I have also traveled independently to every continent on this planet and can say without reservation that the only way to get the most out of your China experience is to travel as part of a small group tour. The advantage of having years of local knowledge applied to your itinerary, a guide who can be historian, concierge, interpreter, or just a friendly face, assistance with border crossings, visas, and all the other things that can cause stress and trauma on one's holidays should be obvious. Not to mention that on a small group tour, you are sharing your experiences with a small group of like-minded people. With that in mind, before we jump into the day-to-day itinerary, let's have a look at how Peregrine Adventures operate their tours. The first thing that makes Peregrine a standout is that they only employ local leaders. That is to say, professional Chinese tour guides, fluent in English and familiar with Westerners' needs. But perhaps more importantly, guides who are locals and can provide you with a behind-the-scenes look into China as they share their knowledge and tips on the local customs. The second advantage of a Peregrine tour is that the group sizes are limited to a maximum of 15 people. With a number this small and using private transport to get around, your guide is able to be flexible to meet the group's needs, weather conditions, and simply manage different interests along the way. Furthermore, a small group size enables Peregrine to choose authentic, locally owned 3 to 3.5 star accommodation. The Peregrine hotels are full of character and not chosen for their capacity to host a huge group of tourists. Lastly, in travelling with Peregrine, you have the advantage of knowing that you are travelling with a company that is at the forefront of responsible tourism practices. In essence, this means leaving as small a footprint as possible and investing time and money into the people and the cultures that make our travelling experiences worthwhile in the first place. Let's now take a look at your day-to-day experience on our featured itinerary, the 10-day Peregrine Adventures China Highlights Tour. Your first day in Beijing is an arrival day, where you'll be transferred to your hotel. In the evening, you'll have the opportunity to meet with your tour leader and other group members for a pre-tour briefing, and this is generally followed by an optional group dinner at a local restaurant, where the Peking duck is often a spectacular choice. Your next 2 days will be spent in and around Beijing, a city offering endless opportunities for exploration. The enormous Forbidden City, built more than 500 years ago and off limits to commoners for almost all that time, is truly an amazing place. Its size might surprise you, it is huge, but what makes it fascinating is that every square metre is interesting, ranging from intricately carved walkways to colourful painted ceilings. The Summer Palace and Temple of Heaven are 2 other fine examples of extraordinary workmanship. It is from here that you will also travel to Simitai, a largely unrestored and as such far more authentic section of the Great Wall, not crowded with hordes of other tourists such as Bandalay, the area most common for Western tour groups. Being perched on this incredible engineering feat and surveying the spectacular surrounding countryside is an unforgettable experience. There is also ample free time in the itinerary, allowing you to make your own discoveries. The Peregrine Hotel is located in the south of the city, and a walk in any direction will unveil all sorts of wonderful surprises. And there are also good shopping opportunities at the various markets around the city, such as the centrally located Dashilan Market. In the evening, you will have the chance to enjoy a performance of the unique Beijing Opera This is an optional excursion, and as such you can choose to spend your leisure time in and around Beijing as you wish. From Beijing, your group leaves on an overnight train, travelling in soft class, 4-berth compartments. The 12-hour trip is a great opportunity for you to get to know your tour leader and each other. The next 2 days is spent in Xi'an, a wonderful place to explore. Food options here are excellent, ranging from delicious Muslim fare to great little dumplings in Chinese cafes. It is from Xi'an that you will take a half-day tour, which many will consider an absolute highlight of your entire itinerary. And this is, of course, to visit the renowned Terracotta Warriors. As a group, you're introduced to these entombed statues, considered one of the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century. Over 6,000 of them were individually sculpted from clay, each having a different costume, height, even facial expression. From Xi'an, you'll be taking a short flight to Shanghai, where you'll spend the next 2 days. The Peregrine Hotel is located near the famous Bund or waterfront area, where dozens of imposing European colonial buildings, remnants of the concession era, line the promenade. This is an excellent place to rub shoulders with the locals. The shopping area on Nanjing Road is situated nearby, and you have plenty of free time to explore Shanghai. Your tour leader can show you how to get to the famous Yuan Gardens and the Bazaar, a fascinating highlight of the city and worth exploring for its tranquil Chinese garden and wonderful food stalls. There is also the option to see the impressive Shanghai acrobats perform, or just chill out and have a beer in the highest bar in the world. Shanghai certainly looks impressive from the 87th floor of Jinmao Tower. Day 9 of your itinerary, you'll be transferred by a private coach to Zhuzhang, where you will spend the day exploring this ancient, immaculately preserved town. Zhuzhang is the most famous water town in China, and you can walk where Marco Polo once walked, as he roamed these streets in the 1200s, in what is known as the Venice of the East. Returning for your final day to Shanghai, the tour ends after breakfast. Your flight should be arranged either on or after this day, or you can spend more time in Shanghai if you wish. However, your tour leader will not be on hand to advise you from this point forward.
Well, thanks for that, Anthony. Okay, here we are now at the conclusion, and what I'd like to probably highlight here is, obviously, if you can get it right in China, it's a fantastic place to visit. And there are other ways to see it other than via a tour, as Anthony's pointed out. But if you want to have much less hassles and get to maximize your enjoyment while you're on your trip, then you probably should be looking at taking a tour. But of course, is the 10-day tour the answer? Well, it may be, but of course there are other options as well. And that's what I wanted to allude you to. If you like to get some customized travel information for yourself, then please fill out the form below and have one of our team of experts who have been to China on more than one occasion sit down and customize some planning for you. And if it involves a tour, good luck. If it involves other options, well, that's the way it is. But at the end of the day, our purpose is to ensure that you sit here and feel like you now have some very good research at your fingers, and more importantly, that you're going to feel comfortable about making the best informed decision you possibly can with your travel. So this is John Spark from Your Travel Planners saying thank you for joining us, and please leave a comment below if you would like us to add or include anything or do something slightly differently. We're only starting out with this process, and it would be really great if you can make a comment, even if it's just to say, well, you enjoyed it. So thanks for that. Take care and pleasant travels.